With the Neo Egoist League having ended a few chapters ago and the final 23 players standing, it's only a question of how long we have to wait at the first match against Nigeria in the U20 World Cup. The big question remains, who will be in the starting 11? And that's what we are going to do in this video, trying to predict the starting 11, or basically assembling my favorite lineup. However, the biggest question is, how will Ego let his team play? In the match against the U20, he lined up with a 4-3-3 with two cams who realistically played striker. However, with the addition of Aiku, we have a lot more defensive quality on the team. And to have more offensive players to fit in the system, we could line them up in a 3-4-3, meaning we'd have 3 defensive players and 7 offensive players. That's kinda my favorite football lineup at the moment. But then there's the problem that in Ego's 4-3-3, he had 2 defensive players because his fullbacks were basically attackers. So he had 2 defensive players and 8 offensive players. So let's go with the 4-3-3 again. Starting with one of only 3 players that are guaranteed starting 11 in my opinion. Gen Fukaku. His experience outweighs Gagamaru's in my opinion, and his connection with Aiku. Okay, I hope I at least got some of y'all. Obviously it's Gagamaru. Honestly, it feels like a waste of a spot to even put Fukaku in this team, because Kaneshiro will not give this man even 3 lines to speak during the whole tournament. Genuinely, I would have loved for him to have a Tachimukai role in the story, like in Inazuma 11, where he is still clearly behind Endo, but still has his moments. Oh well, goalkeeper goes to Gagamaru. Continuing with the center backs, and I think I forgot a 4th player that's almost guaranteed to start, and that's Aiku, because no one else will take his spot, let's be real. In fact, for me, he is probably the hottest candidate to take the captain's armband. He got the experience, the aura, the calmness, and unlike other candidates, he doesn't have beef with half of the team. Now the hard question is, who will be next to him? The most likely options are either Nico or Aryu, although I still don't know where Reo is supposed to play. I get Brother is an all-rounder, but being able to play any position is crazy. Genuinely, I think if Gagamaru gets injured, he is more likely to play in goal than Fukaku. Regardless, I didn't count him as a defensive player since in the Neo Egoist League he played more offensively. Aryu has a higher final bid and his physics are far superior to Nico's, but Nico's IQ is honestly making me think Ego is going to rotate them depending on the opposition. Like if Nigeria is a physical team, which they are in real life, he would go for Aryu, but against a more technical team like France with Charles, he could start Nico. I am barely giving Aryu the edge for now, but throughout the tournament, Nico will probably start more. The fullbacks are basically no defense, just vibes. And I think the move is to play Chigiri here again. He is just the most suited one with his speed and his newly acquired condition. Even though he is Manshine's top goal scorer, Manshine was also pretty ass. So he is my safe bet on fullbacks. The other side won't be played by Bachira. Bachira did jack shit in the U20 game as a fullback, and he was 5th in the ranking. I think he deserves a more offensive role and he is due for some big moments. However, who else can play here? Maybe Ego plays Nico as fullback, unlikely in my opinion. I can see Kyora Zantetsu possibly playing there, but I think they will sit on the bench for most of the time. Nanase didn't get all the spotlight in the PXG match and qualified above Nagi for him to do nothing. He will eventually get to play as fullback, but not from the very beginning. I could see Ego pulling some Philip Lahm shit and play Karasu as right back instead of CDM. Then again, that's probably my wishful thinking, so someone else can play CDM. I think this time it can be Otoya or Yukimiya, who played on the wing against the U20, being pushed as fullbacks. I personally pick Otoya. Not only is he in front of Yukimiya in the rankings, he also carried Basha alongside Bachira, and we are in some serious need of a Otoya pop-off. He has been one of the best players in Blue Lock for 2 arcs in a row now, and honestly didn't do a single thing. He definitely is on fraud watch. I think we will see the occasional Kurono sub for Otoya though, so Isagi and him can cook again. With that, we are done with defense. Well, kinda, cause we have a central defending midfielder. And yeah, it will probably be Karasu, who is also a huge captain candidate for me. Daichi is also probably gonna get a lot of game time too, or well, hopefully, but the main guy should be Karasu. Moving on to my 2 camps, and one of them has to be Bachira. Honestly, the only fault he has is that he is so versatile versatile with his abilities. He can play anywhere. He can pass, he can dribble, he can shoot. That's why Igor parked him as a fullback last game. I hope we get to see some peak Bachira action, especially since the Barca and Bayern Munich game is so far in the past. The other cam is the one that's less clear. My two favorites are Hiyori or Reo. Reo ranked way higher and he can do anything. Hiyori has the thing with Isagi though, and his passes are Toni Kroos-like. Still, I think narratively it makes a lot more sense for Reo to play after all that Nagi drama. And I personally hope he links up with Isagi. Maybe third in line for the second cam position is Sendo. I know Raza went to literal war, but even that isn't gonna help him see even just 1 minute as the starting striker. He will probably play like half a match and call it dips. Of course, when we reach knockouts, Itoshi Sai will probably bench either Reo or Hiyori. Speaking of the infamous Buratsuta 3, right now I only know of Sai and I won't consider them for now. However, I will drop a video on who will be the final 3 players, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Okay, now let's go for the big boys, the main attraction. The only people who are technically still in the Blue Lock project. Remember when this shit was about finding just one guy who will be the best striker? Yeah, I feel like Aryu or Nico or Gagamaru kinda failed the official mission, so the only ones technically still in the Blue Lock project are the guys that are playing as striker. Let's start with the wingers though. I think Baro has to start. Baro is kinda not really a winger in my opinion, but a striker, the number 9. We saw him play as a winger in the U20 match and he is based off Cristiano Ronaldo, who was a left winger his entire career basically. Plus he has great dribbling, so let's put him on the wing for this. Honestly, if Baro wasn't the top goal scorer in the Neo Egoist League, I would have probably not even started him because I wouldn't play him on the wing. After being the main guy on Ubas and having probably the most goals, it's not official, but even if Rin has more goals, he still has to start. His backup is probably Kunigami. With Kunigami, I also have no idea where to play him. He could play anything in midfield and offense, however, he wouldn't start anywhere either. Man, bro was locked off, came back all emo, and did jack shit in the Neo Egoist League. Bro definitely is on fraud watch. Where is the glorious Kunigami from the first selection, man? The other wing, and of course I have to still start the top 2 players in Blue Lock, but who will be the actual striker? I think it is time for our boy. It's his Oreva striker time, and I play Isagi as the true striker and Rin as the winger. Now granted, Ego likes Rin way more and Isagi is way more of a cam, but this is the big moment the show has been building up to. Will he dodge on the wing and play cam sometimes? Sure, but I think my glorious king Himsagi will start as a striker and obviously Rin has to start too, so let's stick him on the wing. Rin's backup is probably Yukimiya or Otoya, and since I picked Otoya as the starting fullback, it's Yukimiya. But realistically, by the time Rin needs to get subbed off, the guy will probably be fully blind. And that's it. No controversial takes, right? Right? Oh boy, okay. Let me explain why I have Shido as Isagi's backup, the actual 3rd best player in the Neo Egoist League. Unlike all the other guys I didn't know where to use, there is literally only one position Shido can play, and that is striker. No funny wing or cam business, straight up number 9 or number bench. Man, but how is he gonna play? He has barely any chemistry with anyone. He won't start over Isagi. He won't start over Rin. Maybe Ego will play Isagi and Rin out of position, but anything behind winger is too defensive for those two, and Baro has to start for me. I know Shido is in front of him in rankings. Baro at least can play wing, and he is the top goal scorer. Obviously Shido will still play games and do crazy shit, but yes, he isn't in my starting 11. Well, here is my lineup for the U20 World Cup. Wait, I think I forgot a player. Starting on the arcade seat is Nagi Seishi. Okay, I'm sorry. But the question is, will he come back for the U20 or after the U20? Tell me if I cooked or tell me your starters in the comments. Okay, bye.